السلام عليكم. Welcome back to another episode of Quran in English. My name is Ahmed, and I'm happy to take you through the second half of the chapter Al-Hijr, which means of rock or of stone, that I understood because it's in the second half, which is very interesting because it's tied to where I was born. Yay! But before we get into it, I must always explain that I'm not an Arabic scholar, linguist, nor am I a Quranic scholar. I've not studied the Arabic language, nor have I studied the Quran. In fact, this is my first read through of the Quran. For a lot of the Quran, I'm merely sharing my journey as I discover through the Quran with you in the hopes that you might learn as well with me. But if you have a different perspective, feel free to let me know. Okay, before we get into it, we always say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, and off we go.
نبئ عبادي أني أنا الغفور الرحيم.
Okay, I'm going to say what he says first, and then I'm going to say the next verse, and then explain both at the same time. But it says, inform my slaves is everybody, everybody's a slave to God whether they want to or not, that indeed I am the oft forgiving and most merciful. All forgiving and most merciful. And the next verse says,
وأن عذابي هو العذاب الأليم.
Beautiful reader as well. And that my torment is the most most painful torment. There's always been kind of like a debate about, is God ever loving? Is he aggressive? Is he does he punish? Does he have grace? Does he forgive? And if we look at the three major prophets, you have Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Moses, or the Old Testament God, tends to be severe in punishment, and all the stories that were given to Moses were of people that were given opportunity and punished, and given opportunity to believe, and they didn't believe, and then they were punished. And they were given opportunity to believe, they didn't believe, and they were punished. So he seems like a very vengeful, angry God. And then along came Jesus. And he seemed to speak about God's mercy and forgiveness was a big key theme of Jesus, and that, just believing in God will help you find the forgiveness and mercy that you need. We can get into the semantics of what you believe Jesus was saying, but essentially, the concept of unconditional love comes, which I struggle with as an idea, because unconditional love means that, whatever you do, you're going to receive God's mercy. And that brings us to the third major prophet, which is Muhammad, peace be upon him. Peace be upon all of them, by the way. And Muhammad's message is a bit of both. One, that inform my slaves that I am oft forgiving and most merciful, and the other, and inform them that my torment is the torment that is most... I like the word punishment. I know Safa doesn't like it, but it's fine. That my punishment is the most severe punishment. And so and this is also a lot of the times why Muslims say that they don't necessarily need the Bible or the Torah, because they believe that the message within the Quran contains both the message of what's in the Old Testament and the message of what's in the New Testament. And not all the Old Testament, the Torah and the Injil, the Gospels. That it has both God's punishment or torment as well as God's mercy. But I feel like most Muslims miss that there is something to be gained from the Torah and from the Injil. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, and then we get into the parable. Well, before we get into the parable of Sodom and Gomorrah and Lut, we get back to Abraham first.
ونبئهم عن ضيف إبراهيم.
And inform them, again, this is talking to the prophet, the messenger, telling the slaves of God, which is telling everyone, inform them about the guests of Abraham.
إذ دخلوا عليه فقالوا سلاما قال إنا منكم وجلون.
If when they entered upon him, the visitors, the guests entered upon Abraham, they said, "Salam," which means peace. And then eventually he said, "Indeed, we are of you afraid. We are afraid of you." Now, there was another verse in the Quran where it talks about why. Well, it doesn't say why they weren't afraid. It said that they refused to eat and that then he was afraid, which you can kind of indicate. It's kind of like lets us know that he was afraid because they didn't eat. And not eating is a sign in Bedouin cultures to be like, we're not here for peace. It could be we're here for war. It could be we're here for something serious. Either way, Abraham was afraid of the two guests, which we know are messengers.
قالوا لا توجل إنا نبشرك بغلام عليم.
So the messengers they said, "Do not be afraid. Indeed, we are only bringing you good tidings of a boy that is learned, a knowledgeable son." Ooh, interesting. Which son are they talking about?
قال أبشرتموني على أن مسني الكبر فبم تبشرون.
Before I explain this verse, I asked the question of which son are they telling him of? So we know that Abraham's first son is Ishmael. He's the elder son, right? Because he was with Hagar. The idea is that he was with Hagar. We're not quite sure that he was with Hagar. But we know that Ishmael was the firstborn and Isaac was the secondborn, and Isaac came with Sarah, whereas Ishmael came from another mother. That's at least what we learned from a different story. In the other parts of the Quran, it talks about that they give both Abraham and his wife this good news. So it feels like they're talking about Sarah, which means that they're giving good tidings of Isaac, not Ishmael, even though he's second. And here it says, we're bringing good tidings of a boy that is knowledge, that is learned. Not multiple boys, even though we know that Abraham has multiple boys. But the Quran doesn't tell us of this, does it? But it seems to be the wildly accepted fact that Ishmael was the second boy, and Ishmael was the father of the progeny that eventually brought Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And Isaac is the one who brought Jacob, who brought the 12 tribes, 12 sons of 12 tribes of Israel. Interesting. So anyway, bringing good tidings of a boy that is learned, we assume that it's Isaac because if this is what there was said in the other reference when they spoke to his wife as well, which we believe to be Sarah. But she's not mentioned by name. And Hagar and Sarah are not mentioned by name at all. So this is just context that we're drawing from history, not necessarily from what the verse is telling us. The verse is telling us that the messengers came to give him good tidings of a boy that is learned. And then Abraham said, which the verse we just heard, but I didn't explain. Abraham said, "Do you give me good tidings while old age has taken me?" Like, what are you saying? What good news? Like, I'm an old man. You're telling me that I'm gonna have children? Is that what are you saying? Essentially, is what he's asking them. فَبِمَا تُبَشِّرُونِ. What are you talking? What are you informing? What are you telling me? I'm old. I'm an old man. So they said,
قالوا بشرناك بالحق فلا تكن من القانطين.
They said, "We bring you good tidings of truth, so do not be of the ones that despair. Do not be the ones who despair." It does kind of sound like he's despairing at them, like, "Oh, I'm going to have a child? Like, really?" But then he says immediately,
قال ومن يقنط من رحمة ربه إلا الضالون.
and he says, and who would despair from the mercy of his Lord except those who are gone astray? which tells us several things in one sentence. A, that a child is mercy. B, that he understands that the child is mercy. C, that even in his disbelief, he immediately turned around and said, whatever my God gives me, I accept and I appreciate. And it's beautiful to tie children to mercy. And he knows that if he was to despair over this good news, then he would have gone astray and he would be misguided. It's beautiful.
قال فما خطبكم أيها المرسلون.
Okay. And then he said, then what is your business, O messengers? Which here it says messenger angels. He does not mention the word messenger angels. He just calls them messengers. It is understood that those messengers are angels, but it is not explicitly said that they are angels. Which I wonder why that's the case. But through the context, through the understanding, I imagine even the Prophet Muhammad said that they were angels as well. But anyway, he says, what's your business? Why are you here? So they say,
قالوا إنا أرسلنا إلى قوم مجرمين.
They said, indeed, we have been sent to a people that are criminal, a wicked people.
إلا آل لوط إنا لمنجوهم أجمعين.
We're sent to a wicked people, a criminal people, except for the family of Lut, the prophet Lut, which was sent to Sodom and Gomorrah. Indeed, we will save them all, except
إلا امرأته قدرنا إنها لمن الغابرين.
Which says something interesting. It says, the messengers say, except his wife, we have decreed that she is surely from the ones that remain behind. And this brings back the concept of the royal we that God speaks through in the Quran quite time and time again. It feels like the angels are a part of this royal we, assuming these two messengers are angels. And I think for Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is the most obvious. Here they say, we have decreed, or we have evaluated her, that she is surely from the ones that are doomed, that will turn to dust. So they're involved in the judgment, which is a kind of interesting concept. Because I thought judgment came back to God, but maybe it's like a collective conscious. Maybe like the angels are like an extension of God in a way. Because like, is everything an extension of God in a way? Because God created everything and everything goes upon His will. It's just the royal we, and here the messengers themselves are saying that we decree that she is from the ones that are remaining behind. Not that God decreed and that we're executing the order. We decreed, They're a part of this decision. And again, it ties back to Sodom and Gomorrah. What was her sin? What was their sin? We'll get into it as it explores, but obviously we'll get into it a little bit here.
لما جاء آل لوط المرسلون.
So when the messengers came to the family of Lut,
قال إنكم قوم منكرون.
Now this is a bit interesting because Lut says, indeed you are a people that are unknown. Which is a bit strange to say that it's a people for two people. But he is talking about the messengers. Because they respond. He says, you must be, you're from a people that are unknown. And they respond to him saying,
قالوا بل جئناك بما كانوا فيه يمترون.
Their response is, nay, we have come to you with what they used to dispute, what they used to doubt in. Which means what? Because, like, the Prophet Lut must know what they're talking about and must have shared the message with this people that you need to stop doing this or something bad's going to happen. And so these messengers must come telling him that we are confirming this thing that you have brought up to them that they have disputed, right? That's how much context we can kind of draw from this. It needs to be A, that Lut had told his people, B, that they had disputed about it, and this is what the messengers are referring to. They're referring to that which they disputed, that's what they disagreed, that's what they doubted. We're here about that topic. Meaning that they are known rather than, instead of being unknown. They're not a known people, but they're known in terms of their cause and their reasoning for coming. And then they say,
وَأَتَيْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَإِنَّا لَصَادِقُونَ.
And they continue saying, and we have come to you with truth, and indeed we are truthful. They say it in two different ways. Not that we have come to you in truth, but also that we are truthful. I'm trying to think if I might be reading into this too much. And it might just be face value that we come to you in truth. But I feel like there's a reason why they specify we come to you in truth and we are truthful people. One is a description about themselves. And one is a description about what they're saying. But both seem to reassure Lut that they are the messengers sent to bring forth God's decree. Well, and their decree, but anyway.
فأسر بأهلك بقطع من الليل واتبع أدبارهم ولا يلتفت منكم أحد وامضوا حيث تؤمرون.
There's the thing again, don't look back. So they give him the news. So travel with your family in a portion of the night, at like the split of the night, and follow their backs, and do not look back anyone from you, and go on where you are ordered. And in these verses, it doesn't talk about it, but we covered it in, I think, Hud, chapter Hud, where his wife does turn back. She's one of the ones that turns back. And they have to keep going forward without her. And it's very curious that turning back is a big concept. And I didn't know that he followed their backs. What about adbarahum? He follows their backs, so he must have seen his wife turn around, which is like the opposite of what we were talking about, the Greek mythology of like. Orpheus must not turn around to save Eurydice, whereas in this case, if he turns around, he would do him himself, which for me makes more sense, to be honest. I don't understand how Orpheus turning around didn't save Eurydice. And then also Orpheus leaves the underworld. Let's not get into Greek mythology. Let's just keep to what we're doing. So he follows their backs. So he was behind them. And so he must have saw his wife turn around and get destroyed.
وقضينا إليه ذلك الأمر أن دابر هؤلاء مقطوع مصبحين.
And here we see the same word, وقضينا, which I was discussing earlier. I hope it doesn't go all the way back. No, قدرنا, not قضينا. قدرنا is we've decreed. قضينا is we have, we've revealed this decree. وقضينا إليه, we conveyed to him that the matter that the root of those people will be cut off by morning. So the evil people of Sodom and Gomorrah, come morning, snip, snip, they will be done.
وجاء أهل المدينة يستبشرون.
Okay, and now we kind of get into what is the crime? Why are they criminals? What's wrong with the people of Sodom and Gomorrah? We get this snapshot example that we have covered previously, but we will cover it again. The people of the city of Sodom and Gomorrah came rejoicing. Oh, there's good news. There's good news. And the good news that they're talking about here is that Lut has two messengers. Two new people. Oh, there's two new people coming into the house. How lovely.
قال إن هؤلاء ضيفي فلا تفضحون.
So Lut said, indeed, these are my guests, so do not embarrass me. Which this is a very فلا تفضحون is a very common phrase that we use in today. It feels like something that a parent, a person would say to their friends, a family, like someone would say to their family members, someone you say to your tribe members, you're kind of like, don't embarrass me, because shame and embarrassment is a very big thing in the Middle East. So crossing that boundary is quite severe.
واتقوا الله ولا تخزون.
And fear God, be mindful of God, and do not disgrace me.
قالوا أولم ننهك عن العالمين.
Now here they say something interesting. They say, did we not forbid you from the world, from everybody? And here the English translation kind of makes sense. Have we not forbidden you from protecting anyone? Makes the most sense, because them saying us forbidding you from the world, it kind of indicates that he's saying, don't embarrass me, don't sexualize these messengers. Don't attempt to take, again, I always think it's about rape, because it's about taking what they're being told not to take. And they're telling him, have we not forbidden you from all people, as in forbidding you from getting in the way of all people. That's kind of what's understood.
قال هؤلاء بناتي إن كنتم فاعلين.
Which is, again, it's a difficult thing to understand, but he said, those are my daughters, indeed, if you wish to do so. Which, again, it brings up the whole idea of, if people want to come rape and then you offer them your daughters, isn't that a horrible thing? Does that make sense? But in terms of tribal culture, it was common to offer children in terms of appeasing your tribe, appeasing cross-tribal relationships as a form of, and that's why here they say, so marry them, because they're offering them in a legal way rather than in a way of rape. I don't think he's saying rape my daughters instead, is what I'm trying to say. But it also doesn't say rape. But it does indicate that he's offering his daughters here, my daughters instead, which again brings back the whole concept of why some people think Sodom and Gomorrah is about homosexuality, because he's like, oh, we don't know the gender of the messengers. We just know that they're messengers, right? Mursalin. I don't think it said anything about the gender of the messengers, right? Maybe they're like masculine pronouns for daifi. Haula. I think we're using masculine terms, so they might be men. Yeah, he says قوم منكورين, which means that there are people. إنكم instead of إنكن. But I don't know if Innakun is a real thing. I'm not going to emphasize. Anyway, he offers his daughters, and this is exactly why people say that this is about homosexuality, because it's like, oh, they wanted to have sex with men, but he was telling them, have my daughters instead. Which I can kind of understand why people get to that conclusion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not that conclusion, but I'm just saying, personally, I don't think that's what is happening.
لعمرك إنهم لفي سكرتهم يعمهون.
Now here is an interesting expression, because it says, by your life, indeed, they were intoxicated, wandering blindly. Now this is a strange concept. Here it's translating it as if, by your life, O Prophet, as if God is talking to the Prophet, saying, by your life, they're surely drunk. Which doesn't sound like something God would say. It doesn't feel like God's perspective, right? It doesn't feel like how God speaks. By your life is such a common phrase, you know? Why? If this feels like someone is saying to someone, which means I feel like this is one of the humans, or one of the people, let's call them actors, because like the actors within the scene, right? You have the messengers, you have at least Lut, you have his daughters, you have the village people, and potentially Lut's wife. And this could be Lut's wife, by the way. لَعُمْرَكَ إِنَّهُمْ لَفِي سَكْرَتِهُمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. Which, if it's Lut's wife, by your life, indeed, they were in intoxication that's wandering blindly. It could be that she was kind of like making excuses for them, or saying that this is inevitable, this has to happen, let this happen, you know? Maybe this is a part of her crime. But it doesn't say. It just says, someone says, by your life, indeed, they are intoxicated and they're blind. And then what happens to all of them?
فأخذتهم الصيحة مشرقين.
So the awful cry took them at sunrise. And here it says, there were two peoples that it talked about, the cry, the scream, the shriek took them. The Sodom and Gomorrah, and someone else. But it also talks about a different punishment for Sodom and Gomorrah, which comes up right now, immediately.
فجعلنا عاليها سافلها وأمطرنا عليهم حجارة من سجيل.
Says, and then we made its highest part its lowest part. So it sounds like they flipped Sodom and Gomorrah above it, from above to below. It was struck by a shriek, struck by a scream, flipped upside down, and then it rained upon them stones from baked clay, giant stones. And I don't know why I get the impression that they were on fire, but it doesn't say that they were on fire. Stones of baked clay. We turned the cities upside down. Is this literally turned them upside down? Or just destroyed completely? And then rained upon them stones of baked clay. عليهم حجارة من سجيل. It's very interesting. Scream, flipped upside down, rain, clay. Three things. And the scream, we've seen it happen before. And حجارة من سجيل, we've also seen it happen before. It happened with the people of the elephant. It's a punishment that the birds were carrying حجارة من سجيل, stones of baked clay, and dropping it upon elephants and destroying them. And then it says,
إن في ذلك لآيات للمتوسمين.
Indeed, in that are signs for those who contemplate, those who discern. Which I always go, I think the Quran is trying to indicate that this is something that that you can see, that you can go to and you can see. And he continues by saying,
وإنها لبسبيل مقيم.
And indeed, it is on a road that is established. So here they add their ruins are in a road that is established, but I mean, if you follow the verses, it makes sense. For if it's a sign that for those who discern, and that sign is on the road that is established, we should be able to access where Sodom and Gomorrah is. And some people say it's the Dead Sea, for example. But I'm not sure.
إن في ذلك لآية للمؤمنين.
Yeah, so first it says, indeed, that's a sign for those who discern, and it's on a road that is established. And then it says, indeed, that's a sign for those who believe. Which is like, what happened to them is a sign for those who discern, where it is, and then that's a sign for those who believe. My back's sore. I don't understand it. I don't understand the sequence of these verses or why they're said in this specific order. And is it that the road, that you can still find it? Is it a sign for those who discern or those who believe? Or is it what happened to them for those who discern, and a sign for where they are is for those who believe, you know? Anyway, now we talk about a different people.
وإن كان أصحاب الأيكة لظالمين.
And indeed, the companions of wood are surely wrongdoers. And here it says the residents of the forest. I don't really know the story beyond what is being said, but there are people in a forest that were wrongdoers. And what happened to them?
فانتقمنا منهم وإنهما لبإمام مبين.
So we took revenge upon them, we took retribution upon them, and indeed both are on a highway that is clear. And the Quran seems to indicate that all these locations are places that we can go to, and we can kind of see.
ولقد كذب أصحاب الحجر المرسلين.
And certainly denied the companions of Al-Hijr, aka the name of this chapter, Al-Mursaleen, the companions of the rocky track, the companions of the stone valley. They denied the messengers. Now, what's interesting is that it describes these companions of the stone. And here it says the Stone Valley. What does it describe them as? Oh, first it says what happens to them, then it describes them.
وآتيناهم آياتنا فكانوا عنها معرضين.
And we gave them our signs, but they were from them turning away. We gave them our sign, but they turned away from them. And we gave them our signs, but they were turned away. So first they deny the people of stone, the people of rock. They denied the messengers, and we gave them our signs, but then they turned away from it. And comes the description of the people of stones.
وكانوا ينحتون من الجبال بيوتا آمنين.
Dun dun dun. And they used to carve in the mountains houses that were secure. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is Petra. Petra is the city carved into the mountains in Jordan. I was born in Jordan. Hey, that's where we come from. So it's a good indication that those are the ones that it's referring to, because it's close to all the areas that we're talking about. It's close to Saudi, it's close to Palestine, yada yada. It's pretty close. I'm sure there are other mountains that had stones in them, so it's possible that that's not the location that this was talking about. But I think it would make sense that it was that. And also, I'm from there, so I want it to be Petra. But so they used to carve their homes into the mountains, and they were feeling secure. However,
فأخذتهم الصيحة مصبحين.
but sees them the awful cry in the morning. And here it's that awful cry, it's that shriek again. And this is the third people. It might be the third people, because we have in Al-Hud, I think it was, whoop, bro. Can we fix? Yeah, Yunus or Hud was talking about a lot of messengers. I think it was in Hud. And it was like Ad or Thamud that got the awful cry. So the people of stone could be Ad or Thamud, or it could be a third city or people that were taken by the awful cry. But it's the third mention of a sayha. It was mentioned in Qawm Lut, both in Hud and now, and it was mentioned for Ad or Thamud, and now the people of the stone. So if the people of the stone are Ad or Thamud, then it would make sense that it only happened twice. But things usually happen in threes. So the scream sees them in the morning. And what happened to them?
فما أغنى عنهم ما كانوا يكسبون.
And what they used to earn did not avail them in any way. What they used to earn, what they used to build, how they built the everything, all they achieved in life was not able to protect them.
وما خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إلا بالحق وإن الساعة لآتية فاصفح الصفح الجميل.
Okay, and now it kind of talks about something completely different. We did not create the heavens or the skies and the earth and whatever is between them except in truth. And here they've translated it for except for a purpose. Again, it's that word. Except for a purpose would make sense, but the word is except in truth. And I feel like in purpose makes sense of in truth. Like it's all done truly. Like there's a reason for everything. There's truth in everything that is being done. And then it says, indeed, the hour is surely coming. Now, we have to understand, this was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad 1,400, let's say 50 years ago. It's a little bit more, a little bit less. When the people heard that the hour is surely coming, I am sure they believed that they would see it within their lifetimes, which makes it very difficult from that time until now. Everyone hearing the word, oh, it's coming, the hour is coming, and you're like, okay, well, many lifetimes have passed since that phrase was revealed to us humans. So a lot of people might go and think, oh, well, then if it keeps saying it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like you keep saying that it's coming, and then it doesn't come. Then is it really coming? Well, the answer is it is coming. And it may be for us, it may be for in our lifetime, it may be in the next lifetime, but for a lifetime, the hour is going to be coming soon, and this is going to be true. And you never know when this is going to be true. It's like the never ending, impending doom. And then it says something beautiful. فَاصْفَحِ الصَّفَحَ الْجَمِيلِ. So forgive the forgiveness that is gracious. I translated it because it was beautiful. So forgive with gracious forgiveness, with beautiful forgiveness. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it all. Because forgiveness is very beautiful and forgiveness is very generous. And like reading the Yusuf's story and how the brothers mistreated him and he immediately forgave them. There's just something, there's no time to hold grudges. Forgive as quickly as possible. Now, it's a separate story if you are in constant disagreements and constant pain. I don't know how to resolve that because forgiveness isn't the answer there. But forgive as quickly as you can because you never know when it's going to be too late. And even if we're not talking about the end of times coming, you never know when it says and the hour is coming. You never know when the hour of your death is coming. The hour of the death of a loved one's coming. So you should always forgive as quickly as possible. Because life is too short, essentially, is what is being said here.
إن ربك هو الخلاق العليم.
It really changes tenses of what it's saying quite a lot. Indeed, your Lord is the creator that is all-knowing. Is it here talking to the prophet? Is it talking to us? Is it talking to everybody? It would make sense that it was talking to the prophet and the messenger. But it would also make sense that it was talking to us. إن ربك هو الخالق العليم. Indeed, your Lord is the creator that is all-knowing. And here it makes sense that it's talking to the prophet because the next verse.
ولقد آتيناك سبعا من المثاني والقرآن العظيم.
Says, and we have certainly given you 7 of the oft repeated and the Quran that is great. Now, 7 of the oft repeated is often understood as the first chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, because we repeat it at least 2 times in every prayer, at most 4 times. It is what you repeat the most out of every phrase of the Quran. Then it says, and the Quran that is great. Which for me is always like, okay, so why would it say something that's a part of the Quran and then and the Quran instead of saying and the rest of the Quran, you know? Which makes me feel like maybe the 7 that is oft repeated is something different. It is understood that it is Al-Fatiha. However, I don't know if it is. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِي وَالْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمِ. I mean, the Quran al-Azim indicates that it's talking to the Prophet. And if we're talking about the Prophet, what was he given that was 7? It must make sense that it must be the Al-Fatiha. So I might be just complicating something that is very obvious.
لا تمدن عينيك إلى ما متعنا به أزواجا منهم ولا تحزن عليهم واخفض جناحك للمؤمنين.
And do not extend your eyes to what we have bestowed upon with it. I don't know why it says azwajan is categories. Pleasures, and here it says fleeting pleasures. No, we have bestowed upon. Azwajan is pairs. And usually refers to husbands and wives. لا تمددن عينك إلى ما متعنا به أزواجا منهم. Do not extend your eyes to what we have bestowed upon it, pairs of them, and do not grieve over them, and lower your wing to the disbelievers, which means lower your wing to the believers, which means, provide to the believers, be gracious to the believers, cover the believers, protect the believers, focus on the believers. Don't focus on. لا مددنا عينك إلى ما متعنا به أزواجا. Do not extend your eyes to what we have bestowed upon it, pairs, or. And why does it say here? أزواجا منهم. Pairs of them, categories of them. It doesn't say pleasures, and it doesn't say categories. Like, I am not going crazy. No? With him are spouses in pairs, right? Couples. I don't understand why. Because also, if you think about it from the terms of the Prophet Muhammad, he had a wife. He eventually had multiple wives. Azwajan. وَلَا تَحْزَنْ عَلَيْهِمْ, and do not grieve over them. Don't let your eyes see what has been given to them, and do not grieve over them. And here it's assuming that we're talking about the disbelievers. Because on the opposite end, وَخْفَضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and lower your wing to the believers. Be gracious to the believers. So it doesn't ever say the disbelievers for this first part, but it is understood. But it also could be an assumption. Interesting.
وَقُلْ إِنِّي أَنَا النَّذِيرُ الْمُبِينُ.
And say, indeed, I am the warner that is clear.
كَمَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَى الْمُقْتَسِمِينَ.
As we have sent down upon those who are divided.
الَّذِينَ جَعَلُوا الْقُرْآنَ عِضِينَ.
The ones who made the Quran in parts. And I'm just giving you literal translations, not what the English translations are doing, because the English translations are giving you specific parts.
فَوَرَبِّكَ لَنَسْأَلَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ.
So by your Lord, we will question them all. Okay, I think we need to read these all together. Say, indeed, I am a warner that is clear, as was sent down to those who are divided, those who made the Quran in parts. So by your Lord, we will question them all. Here they translate accepting parts of the Quran and rejecting parts of the Quran. But again, that's a lot of context that's added onto these phrases. It's just said that it's made the Quran into parts.
عَمَّا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ.
The previous verse was, so by your Lord we will question them all about what they used to do.
فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ.
So proclaim with what you are ordered and turn away from the polytheists. Just say what you're here to do, which I'm here to warn. This makes me think, what was the Prophet Muhammad commanded to do beyond share the message of the Quran? Because also there were like moments where he had to fight and moments where he had to like wait. Oh, hi Mohab, welcome to the channel, how's it going? Here it says, so proclaim with what you are ordered and stay away from the polytheists. And then it describes, before it describes the polytheists.
إِنَّا كَفَيْنَاكَ الْمُسْتَهْزِئِينَ.
Indeed, we are sufficient for you against the mockers. Surely we were sufficient for you against the mockers. إِنَّا كَفَيْنَاكَ الْمُسْتَهْزِئِينَ. It says we will be sufficient for you against the mockers. However, إِنَّا كَفَيْنَاكَ الْمُسْتَهْزِئِينَ. It kind of feels like those who mock are enough for you? Because he's saying turn away from them. You've tolerated. It feels like here it's saying you've tolerated them enough with the disbelief, with the mockers.
الذين يجعلون مع الله إلها آخر فسوف يعلمون.
They're the ones who set up along with God a God that is another, but soon they will come to know. Those who set up other gods with God, besides God, and soon they will know. Which it kind of feels like talking about the Prophet Muhammad, but I imagine it could also apply to modern day maybe.
ولقد نعلم أنك يضيق صدرك بما يقولون.
And verily we know that your chest is tightened by what they say. Your breast is strained by what they say. Your heart is truly distressed by what they say.
فسبح بحمد ربك وكن من الساجدين.
And what's beautiful is here the advice is your heart is tightening because of what they're saying. Then glorify with the praise of the Lord and be of those who prostrate.
واعبد ربك حتى يأتيك اليقين.
And worship your Lord until comes to you the certainty. Until the inevitable comes your way, until you have the certainty within you. Certainty is more accurate. Until you have the trust that it's all going to work out, and worship your Lord. Which is a very beautiful message. There were a couple of verses here that I didn't quite fully understand. I didn't have a way of expressing it. But I feel like a lot of this I'm not going to understand at this point in time. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all for attending. As usual, we end with Sadaq Allahu al-Ali al-Azim. And we tell you, Ma'as salama. And catch you guys, inshallah, tomorrow for an episode of Safa. What's today? Today is Friday. Okay, so not tomorrow, Sunday. Anyway, inshallah, the next episode will be with Safa if it all works out. Fingers crossed. Allahumma ameen. Anyway, ma'as salama. Bye.